She mocked the maid's daughter for years, then found out she was her real sister. Before we begin the story, please leave a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. She thought the maid's daughter was just a poor, useless girl. She mocked her, humiliated her, and made her life miserable, right under her own roof. But what she didn't know was that the girl she looked down on was her own twin sister, switched at birth, and the boy she laughed at for being poor. He was the billionaire's true son. You won't believe how this family's darkest secret exploded and changed everything. The wind howled through the cracked window of their tiny one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. Inside, Angela Carter, a tired but dignified woman in her early 50s, sat on the edge of a thin mattress, watching her daughter sleep. Lily, barely 22, had her arm tucked under a torn pillow, her breathing soft. Angela sighed deeply. The sight of her daughter, so beautiful, so full of potential, brought both pride and pain. She had raised Lily alone since birth. After losing everything in a hospital scandal, she never fully understood. Some nights, they went to bed with only a piece of bread and water. But Angela never complained. She had Lily. Despite the poverty, Angela made sure Lily stayed in school. Education is the one thing no one can take from you, she always said. Lily was smart, kind, and determined, graduating top of her class in high school and earning a scholarship to a community college. But just when they thought things might turn around, the final project for Lily's last semester came with a $900 fee. Angela tried everything: extra laundry shifts, borrowed from neighbors, even sold her late mother's earrings. But it wasn't enough. Lily came home one evening with tears in her eyes. "Mama, I have to drop out," she whispered. "No, baby. We'll find a way," Angela said, holding her close. "We've tried." "I hate this life. Why is it always so hard for us?" Angela had no answer, only a silent prayer. A few days later, Angela wandered into a wealthy neighborhood on the far side of Manhattan, desperate for work. She passed gleaming mansions behind tall iron gates, her laundry basket balanced on her hip. As she rounded a corner, she spotted a large sign in front of a pristine estate. "Now hiring full-time live-in housekeeper. Apply within." Angela's heart skipped. The house looked like something out of a movie. White columns, marble walkway, rose garden perfectly trimmed. She hesitated, then knocked at the front gate. After a minute, a tall, elegant woman stepped out, her heels clicking on the stone. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, adjusting her designer sunglasses. Angela lowered her eyes respectfully. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I saw the sign. I'm looking for work." "I've cleaned houses before. I can cook, clean, iron, whatever you need." The woman studied her for a moment. "I'm Victoria Hughes," she finally said. "Come inside." Inside the mansion, everything sparkled: chandeliers, white marble floors, and the smell of fresh roses. Victoria led her to a sitting room with gold accents and offered her tea. After a short interview, Victoria nodded. "You can start tomorrow. Pay is $1,800 a month, room and board included." Angela gasped. That was more than she had ever earned. Thank you so much, ma'am. I do have one request. I have a daughter. She's well behaved. I can't leave her alone in Brooklyn. Is there any way she could stay here with me and help around the house?" Victoria shrugged. "As long as she stays out of the way, I don't care. But this is a professional home, no drama." Angela nodded quickly. "Yes, ma'am. I promise." That evening, Angela rushed home to tell Lily. "Mama, are you serious?" Lily said, eyes wide in disbelief. "We're moving into a mansion, baby, a real one. You won't believe it." For the first time in months, they laughed. There was hope again. The next morning, they arrived at the Hughes estate. Lily stood frozen at the grand entrance, staring at the marble lion statues and massive oak doors. "Are we sure we're allowed here?" she whispered. Angela chuckled. "As long as we clean up after the lions, we're good." Victoria's personal assistant greeted them and showed them to a small room behind the kitchen, modest but clean, with 2 beds and their own bathroom. Compared to their Brooklyn apartment, it was a dream. Lily unpacked in silence, her fingers lingering on an old photo of her and her mother. Something felt off. Not about the house, but about her life. She always wondered about her father, but Angela never spoke of him. "Mama, do you think things are finally changing for us?" Angela placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "I hope so, baby. But remember, just because you live in a palace doesn't mean they see you as royalty." Outside their room, the sound of heels echoed through the hallway. A voice, sharp, entitled, rang out. "Who are these people in my house?" Lily froze. The door creaked open, and a girl about her age stood in the doorway. Her blonde hair was curled to perfection, and her nails were freshly painted. She wore designer jeans and a disgusted expression. "I'm Chloe Hughes, and I don't remember inviting you here." Angela stepped forward. "We're the new housekeepers, ma'am. Victoria hired me." Chloe folded her arms and scoffed. "She hired a maid." Not her daughter. She rolled her eyes and walked away. Angela exhaled slowly, then turned to Lily. "Keep your head down, sweetheart. We're here to work, not to fight." But deep down, Lily knew this wasn't going to be easy. And Chloe, she had just declared war. Lily woke early the next morning to the sound of pots clanging in the kitchen. She rubbed her eyes and sat up in the small bed, blinking at the golden sunlight filtering through the tiny window. Her mother Angela was already dressed and preparing breakfast for the Hughes family. "You don't have to help," Angela whispered. "Just rest." But Lily insisted. "We're in this together, remember?" They worked quietly, moving around the spotless kitchen like they had done it their whole lives. By 7:00 a.m., Victoria Hughes was seated at the head of the long dining table, sipping black coffee. Chloe walked in seconds later, wearing a crisp white tennis skirt and a bored expression. She paused when she saw Lily setting plates. "Seriously? Is she serving us now?" Victoria didn't look up from her tablet. "She's helping her mother." "You said you wanted fresh breakfast. Be grateful." Chloe narrowed her eyes at Lily, then muttered under her breath. "I asked for help, not company." Lily said nothing. She simply placed the last plate and stepped away. Angela gave her a small nod of pride, but the look in Chloe's eyes was a warning. This wasn't over. Later that day, Victoria had a charity luncheon to attend, leaving Chloe alone in the mansion. That's when things got worse. "Lily! Come here!" Lily dropped the laundry basket she was carrying and rushed to the living room. Chloe was sprawled across the couch, a bowl of popcorn on one side and her phone in the other. "Run to the corner store and get me oat milk." "And hurry, I'm watching my show." Lily hesitated. "I'm not sure if I'm allowed to—" "Did I ask what you're allowed to do?" Chloe tossed a $20 bill at her feet. "Take it and move." Lily picked it up silently and left. Angela saw her going and stepped into the hallway. "Where are you headed?" "Chloe sent me to the store." Angela clenched her jaw. Don't let her push you around. It's fine, Mama. We need to stay here. I'll be back soon. As Lily walked along the tree-lined sidewalks of the upscale neighborhood, she tried to clear her head. The air smelled of lavender and fresh grass, so different from the concrete and exhaust fumes of Brooklyn. Yet even here, she felt like she didn't belong. When she returned, Chloe was scrolling through her phone again. What took you so long? There was a line, Lily replied calmly. Whatever. Go clean the upstairs guest bathroom, and don't touch anything important. Lily glanced at her mother, who stood watching from the kitchen, worry written all over her face. She'll get tired of bossing me around eventually, Lily whispered later. Or you'll get tired of taking it, Angela replied softly. The next few days were more of the same. Chloe used every excuse to send Lily on errands, nitpick her chores, and belittle her in front of visitors. Victoria, preoccupied with work, barely noticed, or perhaps pretended not to. One afternoon, as Lily was vacuuming the hallway, Chloe sauntered by and deliberately knocked over a vase. Crash! The porcelain shattered. Oops, Chloe said with a smirk. Clean that up before my mom sees. Angela rushed out, eyes wide. What happened? She broke it, Chloe said casually, walking away. Lily's fists clenched. Her lips pressed into a thin line, but still, she said nothing. That night, as the two sat on their beds in the small room, Angela placed a hand on Lily's knee. You don't have to take this. We can leave. Lily looked up, eyes filled with quiet fire. No. We've run too many times. I'm not afraid of her. Angela nodded, both proud and afraid. The next morning, something unexpected happened. While Lily was sweeping the marble floor in the foyer, the front door opened. In walked a young man, tall, sharp-featured, with deep brown skin and kind eyes. He wore jeans and a simple hoodie, and carried a leather messenger bag. Chloe's voice rang out from upstairs. Ethan, you're finally here. The young man looked up at Lily and smiled. Hey, he said warmly. Lily gave a polite nod, but didn't speak. That's Ethan Carter, Chloe said, gliding down the staircase like a movie star. Family friend. He just moved back from Boston. He's like obsessed with books or whatever. Ethan raised an eyebrow. And you're still obsessed with drama. Chloe laughed and tossed her hair. Don't mind him, she said to Lily. He's harmless. But as Ethan walked past Lily, he glanced back and smiled again. This time, Lily returned it. Later that day, in the kitchen, Angela noticed the change in her daughter's expression. You're smiling. No, I'm not. You haven't smiled like that in a while. Lily looked away. He was just nice. Angela stirred the soup on the stove and spoke without looking up. Be careful. Nice doesn't always mean safe. I know, Mama. But something in her chest fluttered. That night, as Chloe scrolled through Instagram and Angela washed dishes, Lily stood by the window of their small room, watching the stars. For the first time since arriving at the Hughes estate, she felt something new. Not fear, not anger, but the smallest flicker of hope. What she didn't know was that everything was about to change. And Chloe? She had just noticed that flicker too, and she was ready to crush it. The next few days passed with quiet tension. Lily tried to avoid Chloe as much as possible, but that was nearly impossible inside the Hughes estate. Chloe seemed to appear wherever Lily was, always with a cutting remark or a new errand meant to humiliate her. But there was one thing that made the days bearable. Ethan. He came by often, usually to visit Victoria under the pretense of returning books or checking on her charity projects. But it was obvious that wasn't the only reason. Every time he came, he found a way to talk to Lily. "So," he asked one afternoon while she watered the plants outside, "are you some kind of plant whisperer, or just trying to avoid the drama indoors?" Lily smiled, not looking at him. Maybe both. Ethan laughed. He had a gentle way of speaking, never too loud, never too pushy. It caught Lily off guard. She wasn't used to kindness that didn't come with conditions. "What's your story?" he asked, leaning on the railing. "My story? Yeah. You don't talk much. But there's something strong about you." Lily shrugged. "There's not much to say. My mom raised me alone. Life hasn't been kind, but we survive." Ethan nodded slowly, clearly respecting her honesty. Survival takes strength. Most people don't get that. Before Lily could respond, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Ethan!" Chloe stepped out onto the patio in a flowing designer dress, glaring at them. "I've been looking for you. We were supposed to go over the guest list for Mom's fundraiser." "In a minute," Ethan replied coolly. But Chloe wasn't having it. She walked over, grabbed his arm, and shot Lily a glare that could curdle milk. "Don't get comfortable," she hissed under her breath as she walked away with him. "He doesn't belong in your world, and neither do you." That evening, as Lily helped Angela in the kitchen, she recounted the strange moment. "Mama, he's different. Not like the others." Angela raised an eyebrow. "He's still part of their world, baby. Don't be fooled just because he's polite. He listens. He sees me, like really sees me." Angela paused, drying her hands on a towel. "Just promise me you won't lose yourself trying to fit into a place that was never built for you." Lily nodded slowly, though her heart whispered otherwise. The next morning, Victoria announced the family would host a fundraising gala for the Hughes Foundation, a black tie event with city officials, donors, and socialites. Chloe was ecstatic. Finally, something worth getting dressed for. Lily and Angela were immediately pulled into the preparations, polishing silverware, deep cleaning the ballroom, organizing seating charts. But Chloe had another plan. "Lily," she said sweetly, "you'll be in the kitchen during the party. No need to come out and embarrass yourself." Lily didn't answer. She just kept folding napkins. On the night of the event, the mansion sparkled under soft lighting. Expensive cars lined the driveway. Waiters in tuxedos weaved through guests holding champagne flutes. Angela peeked out from the service entrance. "This doesn't even feel real," she whispered. Lily nodded. They live in a different universe. Meanwhile, Chloe floated through the crowd like she owned it, until Ethan arrived. He wore a classic black suit, simple but sharp, and the moment he entered, people turned. Chloe beamed and rushed to greet him. "You look incredible," she gushed. "Thanks," Ethan said flatly. His eyes scanned the room. Chloe noticed. "If you're looking for the maid's daughter, don't bother. She's not invited." But Ethan ignored her and slipped toward the kitchen entrance. In the staff hallway, Lily was plating hors d'oeuvres when he appeared. "There you are." She froze. "You're not supposed to be back here." "I don't care. I just wanted to see you." Lily looked around nervously. "If Chloe sees you, let her," Ethan said. "I don't like how she talks to you, or treats you." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a silver bracelet, simple, elegant, with a tiny engraving, "Strength is quiet." "It reminded me of you," he said. Lily stared at it, speechless. I can't accept this. It's not about money, Ethan replied. It's about you knowing your worth. Before she could respond, a voice shrieked behind them. Are you kidding me? They both turned. Chloe stood in the doorway, eyes wild, lips curled in fury. You're giving her jewelry now? You barely text me back and this is what you're doing? Ethan stepped in front of Lily. Chloe, we're not a thing. We never were. Don't you dare humiliate me. Stop humiliating yourself. Chloe's eyes burned. She stormed away without another word. Later that night, Lily lay awake, staring at the bracelet on her wrist. Angela entered quietly and sat beside her. You like him, don't you? Lily nodded. But I don't belong in his world. Angela smiled softly. Maybe his world is changing. But in another part of the house, Chloe stood in her walk-in closet, seething with rage. She wasn't going to lose to a maid's daughter. Not now. Not ever. And she already had a plan. It had only been 3 days since the gala, but the mood in the Hughes mansion had shifted. Lily could feel it in the air. Chloe was no longer just rude. She was calculating, watching every move Lily made with sharp, quiet intensity. Angela noticed it too. She's planning something, Angela whispered one morning. Let her, Lily said calmly. She can't break what's already been broken. Angela didn't answer, but deep inside, she feared her daughter was starting to believe she didn't deserve better. Later that afternoon, Victoria called for Lily. I need you to pick up a package from Hughes Medical Center. Just tell them I sent you. Lily nodded. Finally, a task that didn't involve scrubbing floors or folding towels. She dressed neatly. Plain jeans, clean sneakers, and a sweater Angela had sewn years ago. As she walked into the building, the receptionist greeted her politely and handed her the package. Victoria's assistant said you might stop by. She's lucky to have such a dedicated young woman working for her. Lily smiled faintly. Thank you. It was the first time in a long while someone treated her like she belonged. Back at the estate, Chloe was waiting. Arms crossed, foot tapping, anger simmering under the surface. Where have you been? Your mom asked me to pick up a package from Hughes Medical. Yeah, right, Chloe snapped. You were probably out flirting with Ethan again. Lily tried to walk past her, but Chloe blocked her path. You really think you're something, don't you? Wearing that pathetic little bracelet like it means something. Lily looked down at the silver band on her wrist. Strength is quiet. She moved to step around Chloe, but Chloe suddenly grabbed her wrist. Give it to me. What? You heard me. That bracelet? It's mine now. It was a gift, Lily said firmly, from someone who doesn't belong to you. Before Lily could react, Chloe yanked the bracelet off her wrist and threw it across the hallway. It hit the marble floor and skidded under a cabinet. Angela appeared just in time to see it happen. Enough, she snapped. You don't get to treat my daughter this way. Chloe scoffed. She's not your daughter. She's a maid's pet project. Lily's face turned pale. Angela stepped forward, but Lily gently grabbed her hand. It's not worth it, Mama. They turned to leave, but Chloe wasn't done. You can't walk away. You live here because of my mother's generosity. Don't forget that. Lily stopped, then slowly turned around. You're right. We do live here because your mother gave us a chance. And that's exactly why I won't stoop to your level. For a second, Chloe looked stunned. But then her face twisted into a smile. You want to play humble? Fine. Let's see how humble you are when the whole room's watching. The next evening, Chloe executed her plan. Victoria hosted a private dinner for board members and investors in the Hughes Foundation. The house was filled with luxury suits, pearls, and expensive laughter. Lily and Angela were assigned to help serve. It was all going smoothly, until Chloe accidentally spilled red wine on one of the guests. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she gasped. Then she turned sharply. "Lily, come clean this up." Now, everyone turned. Lily, holding a tray of appetizers, froze. Chloe pointed directly at her. "This is why we don't let the help into events. They're always so unprepared." Laughter. Cold. Quiet. Awkward. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Chloe, that's enough." "No, Mom," Chloe cut her off. "I'm just saying what we're all thinking. Look at her. Pretending like she belongs here, wearing jewelry like she's one of us." Ethan stood up from the table. "Lily doesn't have to pretend. She already has more class than half this room." Chloe spun around. "Of course you'd defend her. You gave her that bracelet, didn't you?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Chloe walked over, smirked, and pulled something from her pocket. "Then maybe I should show them what she really is." She held up Lily's student ID from community college with a sticker that said "Financial Hardship Recipient." Gasps rippled through the table. Lily's cheeks burned. Angela's eyes welled up with tears. But Lily didn't run. She didn't hide. She slowly stepped forward, took the ID from Chloe's hand, and looked around the room. "Yes. That's mine. I worked 2 jobs to stay in school. I cleaned houses and skipped meals to study at night. And I wore that sticker with pride." She turned to Chloe. "You think this embarrasses me? You have no idea who I am." Then she walked out. Silence. Then Victoria stood up. "Dinner is over." That night, back in their small room, Angela sat quietly while Lily packed a bag. "We can't stay here anymore, Mama." Angela nodded. "Not after that." But as Lily zipped her bag shut, Angela reached into her own suitcase and pulled out something she hadn't touched in years, an old hospital folder. "There's something I never told you," she said. Lily looked at her, eyes wide. "What is it?" Angela held the folder tightly. "It's time you knew the truth about where you came from." And outside that room, Chloe wasn't done yet. But neither was the truth. Lily sat on the bed, clutching the old hospital folder Angela had handed her. The paper was faded, corners frayed, but inside were medical records, birth notes, immunization slips, and one detail that stopped Lily cold. Baby girl, delivered at Hughes Medical Center. Expected, male. Outcome, female. She looked up slowly. "Mama, you told me the doctors said you were having a boy." Angela nodded, her voice low. "They did. All the scans said boy, but when I woke up after delivery, they handed me you, a girl. And you never questioned it?" "At first I did. But they told me the scan was wrong, that it happens sometimes." Angela shook her head. "But something never sat right with me. And now, after everything with Chloe, after seeing Victoria up close, I'm starting to wonder if there's more to the story." Lily's voice trembled. "Are you saying I might not be your biological daughter?" Angela's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. But there's only one way to find out." The next day, Angela requested a meeting with Victoria Hughes. They sat in Victoria's private office, sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Victoria seemed tired, more fragile than usual. Something about the dinner party, The public humiliation of Lily had clearly affected her. Angela didn't waste time. Mrs. Hughes, I need to ask you something. It's personal. Victoria raised an eyebrow. All right. Were you ever told you were expecting twins? Victoria froze. Her teacup paused halfway to her lips. Why would you ask that? Because I gave birth at Hughes Medical Center, same day. Same hospital. My records said I was having a boy, but I left with a girl. Victoria slowly set her cup down. I was told I only had one child, a girl, Chloe. But I always felt something was missing. Angela opened the folder and slid it across the table. Victoria scanned the documents. Her hands began to shake. I thought I was crazy, but there were moments, dreams, instincts, where I felt I had lost something. Angela nodded. Maybe you did. And maybe I was handed what you lost. Just then, a voice interrupted them from the hallway. It was Chloe, loud. Angry, arguing with Ethan just outside the office. Why do you care so much about her? She's a maid's daughter. Because she matters, Chloe. Maybe more than you realize. Victoria stood up and opened the door sharply. What's going on? Ethan stepped back. Chloe stood frozen. We need to talk, Victoria said, her voice sharp and unshakable. She gestured for Chloe to sit. Angela looked between the two women, mother and daughter, and something didn't sit right. Chloe had Victoria's mannerisms, but none of her warmth. There was a coldness there that had always felt off. Chloe, Victoria asked, do you remember anything strange about your birth? Or have you ever seen any documents? Old files, medical notes, anything? Chloe looked panicked for a second, then recovered. No. Why would I? But Ethan caught the flicker in her eyes. She's lying, he said quietly. What? Chloe snapped. I've seen you in Mom's study. Last year, you were looking through her old filing cabinet. Don't act like you haven't seen something. Chloe's face paled. Angela stepped forward. Chloe, do you know something about the hospital? Chloe looked down. For a long moment she said nothing. Then finally, I found a letter. Years ago. It was hidden behind a drawer, from a nurse. What did it say? Victoria asked, her voice cracking. It mentioned a mix-up. Or maybe not a mix-up. A switch. Angela gasped. A switch? Chloe nodded slowly. The letter said a nurse had been paid to give one baby to the wrong mother. It didn't say names, but I knew it wasn't me. I've never felt like I belonged in this house. Not really. Victoria sank into her chair. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was scared, Chloe whispered. I didn't want to lose what I had. Even if it wasn't yours, Angela asked. Chloe's lips trembled. I didn't know what else to do. That night, Angela and Lily sat together on the back patio of the estate, watching the stars. What if she's right, Mama? What if I've been living someone else's life? Lily asked. Angela placed a hand over hers. Then it means someone else has been living yours, and it's time we find the truth. The next morning, Victoria made a series of calls. She contacted her private investigator. She pulled hospital records. She even reached out to Hughes Medical Center's board to locate the nurse who had been on duty that night. Within hours, the pieces started to come together. One nurse had disappeared 2 months after the birth. Another had died in a car accident. But one, Margaret Lane, was still alive. Living in Connecticut, retired, and according to files, she had been on duty during both deliveries. Victoria arranged for her to visit the estate the next day. That evening, Chloe knocked on Lily's door. For a long time, neither said a word. Then Chloe finally whispered, "I think you were meant to have the life I've been living." Lily looked her in the eyes. "And I think you knew that longer than you admit." Chloe nodded. "I was awful to you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know. I'm sorry." For a moment, Lily saw the scared girl behind the arrogance, but she wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. "Let's find the truth first," Lily said quietly. "Then we'll talk about forgiveness." The next morning was tense. No one said much over breakfast. Victoria barely touched her coffee. Angela sat stiffly at the edge of her chair, glancing at the clock every few minutes. Chloe didn't show up at all. Lily stayed in her room, staring out the window, silently repeating the same question in her head. Who am I? Really? Just before noon, a black town car pulled into the driveway. A frail, silver-haired woman stepped out, guided by a younger man in a navy coat. "That's her," Victoria said quietly. "Margaret Lane, former head nurse at Hughes Medical Center, now 82 years old and nearly blind in one eye." She walked slowly into the living room, gripping a leather purse that looked older than she was. "Mrs. Hughes," she said, voice trembling. "It's been a long time." "Too long," Victoria replied, rising to meet her. "Thank you for coming." Angela, Lily, Ethan, and Chloe gathered in the room. The air was thick with tension. Victoria didn't waste time. "You were there the day I gave birth. So was Angela. And our children. Something went wrong that day, didn't it?" Margaret looked down at her hands. "I tried to forget, but I never could. I knew this day would come." She opened her purse and pulled out a folded letter, yellowed, fragile, and trembling in her fingers. "This is my signed statement. I wrote it years ago, but I was too afraid to send it." Ethan stepped forward and took the letter, handing it to Victoria. She read it silently, her lips pressed tight. Tears welled in her eyes. "Is this true?" Margaret nodded. "There was another woman, a rich patient named Ruth Langston. She was connected to the hospital board. She had lost several pregnancies, and when she found out you were expecting a boy, she made me an offer." Angela gasped. "But I gave birth to a boy. They handed me a girl." Margaret's eyes filled with shame. "Because Ruth took your son. And I gave you Victoria's daughter. One of them." Everyone froze. "One of them?" Victoria asked. "Yes," Margaret whispered. "You had twins. 2 girls. But the delivery was rushed, and records were sloppy. I gave one girl to you, and the other I handed to Angela." "I hid the paperwork." Victoria dropped into the chair behind her. "All these years, I only raised half my heart." Angela's lips trembled. "And the boy—" "My son?" Margaret turned to Ethan, her voice cracking. "That's him. You named him Ethan, but he was born to you, Angela." "And taken by Ruth." Ethan sat down, stunned. Lily looked around the room. "So, I'm your daughter," she said, turning to Victoria. "And Chloe, she's my sister?" Margaret nodded. "Twin sisters, raised apart." Switched lives. Silence. Then Chloe slowly stood, her hands trembling. "I always felt like something wasn't right. I never fit. I thought it was me." Victoria turned to her. "You are my daughter. No matter what, you were raised by me and I love you. But so is Lily. And she deserves to be known and loved." Lily swallowed hard. "I don't want money. I don't want the house or your name. I just wanted to know who I was." "You're Lily Hughes," Victoria said softly. "And you always have been." Angela stepped forward and hugged her daughter. "You may not be my blood, but you are my child. You saved me. You made my life matter." Lily hugged her tightly, whispering, "You'll always be my mother." Then she turned to Ethan, still speechless. "You're my brother?" Angela smiled through tears. "Yes. My boy. My Ethan." Ethan shook his head in disbelief. "I thought I was no one." "But I'm your son." Angela pulled him into her arms, holding him for the first time as her child, not just as the boy she raised. "I lost you once. I won't lose you again." Across the room, Chloe wiped her eyes and approached Lily. "I was awful to you. I was jealous and cruel and wrong." "You didn't know," Lily replied softly. "Still," Chloe said, "you deserved so much better. And you're my sister." "Yes," Lily said, looking into her eyes. "And sisters forgive." Eventually, they embraced, not perfectly, not completely. "But honestly," Victoria turned to Margaret. "Why now?" "Because I'm dying," the nurse said. "I wanted to clear my conscience before I go." Victoria nodded. "You should have come forward sooner." "I know." Margaret turned to leave. As she reached the door, she stopped. "One more thing," she said. "Ruth Langston. She passed away last year, but her estate still holds Ethan's original birth certificate." Victoria nodded. "We'll get it. He deserves his name." Later that night, Lily stood on the balcony of the Hughes estate, watching the wind ripple through the trees. Angela walked up beside her. "How do you feel?" Lily exhaled. "Like everything I knew was a lie. But somehow, like I'm finally standing in truth." "You are," Angela said. "And I couldn't be prouder of the woman you've become." From across the yard, Ethan waved at them. Chloe stood beside him. Awkward, but present, a start. Victoria stepped out of the doorway. "Lily, we'd like to have dinner, as a family." "If you're ready." Lily turned, smiled. "I'm ready." 3 months later, the Hughes estate was no longer just a house of secrets and shame. It had become something new, a home filled with voices that once hurt, now learning to heal. Lily had chosen to stay, not as a maid, but as a daughter. Not to chase riches or status, but to rebuild what had been broken. Angela had her own room now, upstairs next to Lily's. Victoria insisted. She called it bringing the house full circle. Ethan, now officially recognized as Victoria's biological son, had taken the hardest road of all. For years he believed he was no one, just a quiet young man working odd jobs and reading in silence. Now, he was the sole heir to the Langston estate, after Ruth Langston's will unexpectedly left everything to the boy she wronged. But Ethan didn't change. He kept his hoodie, his calm voice, and his honesty. The only thing new? A small ring in his coat pocket. One evening, under the soft light of the garden lanterns, he found Lily by the roses. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she replied, smiling. "You look nervous." "That obvious?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I know everything's been crazy. I know we just figured out who we are, where we came from." He opened the box. Inside was a delicate gold ring, with a tiny emerald. "But I've always known this much. I want you in my future, whether we live in a mansion or a shoebox." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan." "Yes." He didn't even ask the question. She didn't need him to. They laughed, cried, and hugged in the garden where secrets had once bloomed. Now, it would be the place where new beginnings took root. 2 months later, the Hughes estate hosted a very different kind of party. No investors, no forced smiles. Just family, friends, and laughter. Lily wore a cream-colored gown Angela had helped tailor by hand. Victoria walked her down the aisle, holding one arm, while Angela held the other. Ethan stood at the altar in a classic black suit. Chloe was his best man, her idea. "I owe you that much," Chloe had said with a grin. The ceremony was simple, sweet, perfect. And when the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Ethan leaned in, whispering, "You are everything they said you couldn't be." Lily kissed him with tears in her eyes. Angela opened a small laundry business in Brooklyn, finally using her nursing background to start a free washing program for single mothers in need. Victoria created a new scholarship under the Hughes Foundation, named after Margaret Lane, the nurse who told the truth, late but bravely. Chloe went on to study psychology. "I have a lot to unpack," she said with a wink. Ethan invested part of his inheritance in building libraries across underfunded neighborhoods. He named the first one Quiet Strength Center, after the engraving on Lily's old bracelet. Lily? She became a writer. Her first book was titled The Maid's Daughter. Life doesn't always give us the answers we want. Sometimes it gives us something better, a second chance, a chance to choose family, love, and healing, even after the truth hurts. Lily was mocked, she was used, she was cast aside. But in the end, she found her voice, her name, her place. And it turns out, the girl who was once called just the maid's daughter was so much more than anyone ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. On a scale from 1 to 10, how powerful was Lily's journey? What would you have done if you were her? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that move your soul.